Hello and welcome to the Lady Mayor. You're the Lady Mayor. You're Mayor of London. Hello, Sue.
Hi, I'm delighted to be here. Thanks so much for asking me to come along.
But what's so lovely is you are a joy spreader and you want to make a difference. But you're a Lady Mayor.
I am a Lady Mayor.
But you're not a mayor like people hear about in Manchester and London. No, you're the Lady Mayor, like the Lord Mayor, and you're the first Lady Mayor.
I am. So it's the Lord Mayor of the City of London started way back in 1189. And so almost 800 years. There's actually been 3 women. So I am the 3rd woman, but I am the first to decide to point out I'm a Lady Mayor and not a Lord Mayor. Because we've got a Lady Chief Justice, Lady Usher of the Black Rod. And I thought it was time the City of London had a Lady Mayor.
So how does this work then? Do you sort of wake up one morning and somebody says, you know what, you should be Lady Mayor? Or were you a child and you thought, I want to wear garb and robes and I have to say that's magnificent around
you. The badge, the diamond badge. Yes,
it's rather fabulous.
Yeah, it would make a lot of earrings, but sadly I have to leave it behind. But yeah.
But how does it actually work in your life, Sue?
Yeah. So listen, it's such a historic office. And I was actually born in the East End, and my mum and dad, or my granddad, always used to take me to watch the Lord Mayor's show. Because in November each year, you'll have seen it, the Golden State Coach, all of the horses. And I used to sit on my granddad's shoulders. November was always really cold, wrapped in a scarf my gran used to have knitted me. And I used to watch and listen out for the horses and the marching bands, and then wait for that golden coach to come through with the Lord Mayor inside. I have to admit, at 5 or 6 or whatever, I never imagined or even thought that I would be part of it, let alone sitting in that golden coach. In fact, one of the moments I really had, I always say I was born within the sound of Bow Bells. And the first ever Lady Mayor's Parade we had this year, which was brilliant fun. Lots of women in it, actually. When you come up past St Mary Le Bow, they actually ring peals for the Lord or Lady Mayor as you go by. And I did have one of those moments where you think, those bells are ringing out for me. That's just
how incredible.
Surreal.
So I love that. So at 5 years old, proper EastEnder, you're there on the shoulders watching the Lord Mayor in those days go by.
Yeah.
But then you go forward a few years and you're then Dame Sue becoming the Lady Mayor. There's quite a bit that happened, obviously.
Bit of a gap. Yeah.
But the idea that at 5, some young people have dreams, hopes, and ambitions.
Yeah, I never had any.
You didn't have that as a thought.
No, I always call my career an accidental career. So yeah, I was born in the East End. My dad was a sparky electrician. But they instilled in me that thought. My dad always used to say, anything is possible. Now, I know some things are quite hard, okay? But I grew up with two sentences in my head. Anything is possible and how hard can it be? So I was good at school. They said you should do A-levels. Actually, our school didn't have a A-level section. So the teachers taught me in their spare time in a cleared out chemistry cupboard, but it wasn't quite Harry Potter. It did have a window. But that was fine to me. And then they said you should go to university. I went to university and then I didn't know what to do. So I went traveling, came back, applied for my first job. Every other one has always found me because I like people and I've never applied for another job. And it's the same with the mayoralty. About 15 years ago, I was called in for coffee by 2 previous Lord Mayors who said, had I ever thought, potentially.
So what were you doing then?
So I think I was probably a director of Lloyd's of London. So I had managed to, the next job always found me and I was promoted and I ended up, as the exec director of North America for Lloyd's of London. I was then chair of Gallagher. I became a trustee for Macmillan. I was the leading exec for the Home Office because I met all these people and I love people. I said, what do you do? Tell me about it. And, maybe I could do that too. And then somebody always called me and said, we have this role, come and talk about it.
You just said yes.
I was always interviewed. It wasn't I was just offered a job, but because I like people, and I always think one of the things in life is if you're genuinely curious about people, most of us want to help. I feel a duty.
I do believe there are lots of good people.
I generally
bad
believe.
Ones, but
yeah. So the only time I've ever had a moment was for a role, and I was interviewed. It was a non-exec director, and I was interviewed at HM Treasury. And I walked up to the door, and it was a very hot day, and I looked at the brick surroundings, and it said HM Treasury. And I faltered for a moment. I remember the security guard going in or out, and I actually walked out and I sat on the little wall outside, and I thought, get over yourself, stand up and go in. But that's the only time, and I think maybe not minding whether you get a job or not. It's a bit like the Melty. I said, well, why would I do that? Can I make a difference? In fact, I might have said at the time, because I thought it was quite funny, that I was allergic to fur and red wasn't my colour. Okay, so it wasn't something I chased.
So so let's go back to, you say that 2 ex-Lord Mayors called you in for a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Have a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Right. Take me through that conversation 15 years ago.
So I'd obviously... To be Lord or Lady Mayor, you're basically the ambassador for financial and professional services for the City of UK, for the City and for the UK. So you have to have a fairly senior financial background. There's only been 2 women before. Sadly, there's still not that many senior women in the city. So they do single a few of us out, almost like prospects, to bring people in and say, have you ever thought of this? Because, we need different people to come and step forward. I think I didn't have imposter syndrome, but I remember being completely taken aback. I think more because of an East End background, because
but it makes you more real.
Maybe.
You're in touch with, like you said, your dad was an electrician, and you sat on the shoulders when you were a kid.
Yeah.
You're from the East End. You know what's going on.
Yeah, I hope so. I just thought, why would... I suppose I thought, what difference can I make? Because I thought it was ceremonial. I was thinking golden coach, red robes, a lot of fur, lots of ceremony, lots of bands. But that's less than 8%. And gradually over those 15 years, I have to admit, I said no at the time. Because I didn't,
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I said no. I said, it's not for me. I can't make a difference. I did say it was too ceremonial. But each year, somebody would always have coffee with me. And then eventually, I began to see the other side of it. And it was actually one of my mentorees that tipped me over the edge. So that approached me again. And I said, no, I'm not going to do it. And I was telling one of my mentorees. And she said, why not? And I said, because there's so many things we can do in life, and I want to make a difference. And I think this could be quite hard to change. It needs some gentle modernisation, and I'm not sure I can do that. And she said, Sue, you are always telling us that to change things, someone has to go first. And if not you, then who? So what example are you setting us? And I thought,
oh, that's a great answer.
Yeah.
A great thing to hear. It was the kick up the bottom that you needed.
So I probably thought something quite rude in my head. And so I stood and got elected because I do think she's
you have
right.
to be elected.
You do. There's an election. The City of London is divided into 25 areas, a bit like local councils, if you like, and has a number of councillors, like our local councillors. And then each one has one elder man, that used to look after the business interests of the ward. And they always were elder men. But that's the way society was, okay?
Yeah.
That's the way we were.
But it's changing.
So I got elected as an elder woman. So I started off as an alderman, and then about 2 weeks later, a friend of mine said, why are you an old man, not an old woman? I thought, fair point. So I became an older woman. And then there is a process you go through. So not every alderman or woman becomes Lord Mayor. You have to become sheriff of the City of London before that. There's an interview process. I know. Yeah, I did have a sword. Wasn't allowed to take it anywhere with me there. So there is an interview process based on your background, your CV, and your interview and your references and stuff. And then you find yourself one day dressed in that red robe, dressed in that fur, dressed in that tricorn hat, and in that golden carriage.
And now I love the idea that when you're in the carriage, that you just thought, those bells are for me. That's so moving. It's lovely. But the big thing that you want to do is you want to change people's perceptions. You want to give anybody the chance. And that's why we wanted to talk to you on this, because I think, a lot of people think of the city of London as the financial area, and it's just money, and men. People and it's only because of films that we've seen or books or whatever. It's always portrayed like that over the years. And yet you want to give everybody a chance. You're a big, the charity work that you do, but it's very much about anyone can do what they want to do. That's what you believe, don't you?
I do. I think there's two things in what you said. I think the city gets a bad rep in the narrative because people think money, business. I mean, the businesses in the City of London pay for half the NHS. You know, there's a lot of social good the city does. And for some reason now we don't seem to accept that. It's the films that we see.
Yeah.
But no, I completely agree. So, you know, that's the reason that I stood. And I'm really embarrassed to say it's taken me this long to realise what an impact seeing someone like you can have. Because of my mum and dad, I've just wandered through life going, oh, that looks interesting, I'll try that. And I thought if I fail, I fail. But we had we had 697 city women come in to represent. I was the 697th Lord Mayor. When we were going past all the little girls and stuff, I spent the entire show stressed because all I could hear, because I was waving on one side, I could hear, oh, I can't see her, she's the wrong side. So you'd bounce over and then all you could hear is, but the next
those
day.
Little girls saying that could be me.
The next day, my inbox overflowed with emails and notes from parents saying, it's really important to see senior representation. My daughter now wants to be Lady Mayor. I did single out the boys as well, like West Hamshire to wear. Don't mention West Ham at the moment. You know, so I was trying to single people out, but I just had so many. And I had one as well as an East Ender. Well, I had a couple. I still get letters each week, actually. One said, Sue, I've been in the city for 20 years. I was born in the East End too, and I never truly felt I belonged until the day of your show. And I had a letter just last week, actually, from someone who's a senior woman in the city, and she said, I've never told anyone this, Sue, but I was born in a council estate, and I've never talked about it, and people assume I'm privately educated. And she said, and you've finally given me permission to be myself.
Okay, that's very moving, but also really sad that somebody felt that they couldn't be themselves, because there's too much judgment out there, isn't there? Yes,
and also there's also something, you know, you don't want to talk about your background I get slightly embarrassed, like if I say, do you know I was born, you know, in the East End and now I'm Dame Susan Langley and the Lady Mayor of the City of London, because it almost feels like I'm saying, look at me, and I'm genuinely not.
No, of course you're not.
It makes you slightly cringe. It makes me cringe. Somebody called me a role model and I did that typical, oh no, I have this old thing, I've had it ages. You know? But we've got to be less British about it, because I've now realised that for lots of people, it does matter. And you can be very matter of fact. Okay, so my dad was an electrician. Great. So what? And, you know, your dad was an investment banker or a surgeon so what? We're all the same. And I just think without being, I'm going to say un-British, without making a thing of it, I just think we need to be more open about giving people permission, or why can't people feel they can just be themselves? I probably didn't talk about I talk about my background more now because I realise it matters. I didn't hide it, but I didn't talk about it.
So now being Dame Sue, Lady Mayor, that you've got still another 6 months to go. What do you want your legacy to be? So when you're done and it's over, what would you like people to say? Do you know what she did? She did blah, 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 blah. Apart from people feeling comfortable just to be themselves, which I think is lovely. Okay. I think that's a massive thing.
The feedback so far, I think that people see the mayoralty as more tangible, achievable, normal. So I'm trying really hard to make sure that the mayoralty is not about me, it's about a brand. I mean, different people sit here every 12 months, okay, but the mayoralty continues from 1189, and that's what makes it so strong. So making it less about the person and more about the role, but also making people realise it can be done in different ways. So, you know, a quirky example for the charity piece that you mentioned, every Lord Mayor normally does a ride out around the city on horses to various places, collects money. I am doing a ride out. We're sponsored by Triumph and we've got 150 motorbikes.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yes. And I'm hoping we've got the UK's fastest lady, Maria Costello, who will be leading it, although I have told you it's 20 miles per hour in the city. Okay, so it's just making roles more human. Somebody said to me the other day that we forget how excluding ceremony and hierarchy can be, that it makes some people uncomfortable, especially if you've got maces and swords and hats and things. I just want to make people realise it's a role like any other that they can do too, and just to make it a bit more human. a little bit more modern and make sure people are clear it is a business-focused role. We wear those hats on very few occasions.
And the other thing is that it's about inclusivity. And I know, at the parade, everybody, whatever their background, wherever their families may have been born years and years and years ago, whatever, all religions, everyone was there. And that is wonderful because I think everyone has an idea, there are, obviously the news is very bleak and very dark and we don't need to go into that, but there are people who have a view of London.
Yeah.
And you want people to not have that. You're saying everybody is welcome, aren't you?
No, absolutely. Because there's a saying, talent is everywhere, opportunity is not. But actually, there's huge opportunity in London. I mean, number of jobs in London since COVID is up 25%. One of the things we've done, though, is that confidence thing. So when I was talking to some of the students in schools before, they said, we can see the city from our classroom windows, but it's not for us. Now that devastates me that someone would ever think that, because I never thought that, but that's because I was lucky enough to be given that resilience and confidence. So one of the really good things we did this year, City Insight Day, so we got a load of the city businesses to open their doors to bring in those students and tell them about the careers and that it wasn't scary. So those students came in at the beginning of the day with a really tiny percentage saying the city was for them. 86% at the end of that day left saying they could see themselves in the city.
Oh, that's so lovely.
So it's just that it's quite often people talk about skills and training and stuff. Of course, they're important, but it's that confidence thing. What happens if you step into something that looks like an alien environment or too posh or too... I asked one of the kids, what do you think of the city? And he said, there's an awful lot of steel and glass, but that was the overriding impression. What impression does something give you that might not be the right one? Because it's hugely welcoming, huge, great careers, in the City of London.
So in your time now, you've met some extraordinary people as well. You just did when you meet these people, please tell me that every so often that 5-year-old on the shoulder just thinks, you go home with your husband and you go, you will never guess who I met, because it's this wonderful role that you're in for the year and you're trying to make a difference. But there is also some excitement. Come on.
Yeah, there are a few pieces. I mean, I always remind myself that they are meeting the Lady Mayor of the City of London. That's not Susan Langley or whatever, but there were some surreal moments. So there was one a couple of weeks ago when the King comes into the City of London.
Yes.
Because I am the Premier citizen of the City of London. There is a ceremony where you hold.
That's who I was talking about, actually.
Yeah, okay. Well, it was in the press. So there is a pearl sword that you hold. So some people think that the King has to ask permission. That's not true. There's a ceremony with the pearl sword which actually symbolises the King asserting that you have continued authority over the city. So we had to practice, and this pearl sword's pretty big, and it's quite heavy. Okay, and I was terrified of dropping it on him.
Oh no, can you imagine?
And I was walking up, okay, so I've got heels, a long robe and a pearl sword, and I'm walking up the steps of St. Paul's and all the way through and then leading him and then placing the sword. I was fine, absolutely fine. The last thing I had to do was pick up the sword again, which was a bit tricky because there was a bit of a pick it up by the hilt and a flick of the hand to actually, and that was one bit when I was looking quite worried and I thought he was looking quite worried too. But no, you do feel afterwards when he left and you're still standing there with it, you think, well, that was just a bit surreal. I wish my mum and dad were still around. I have to say
yes,
that.
Of course.
There's some moments
I'll be watching
that.
over and just thinking, she nearly hit the King with a pearl sword.
Or when you're overseas and you've got police outriders and things and it's just slightly, yeah.
I hope you sit with your husband and just giggle about some of it.
Some of it, you have to, in a nice way, you think, yes, you're right.
Isn't
did
this
that
crazy?
Just happen? Yeah, state banquets or welcomes or big speeches and those kind of things are super. I think this is the kind of job you sit down and look back on and think about, because when you're in the moment, it is just full on. 100 days overseas, like 7 days a week. There isn't a moment.
Do you never get any time off?
August. Not that I'm counting down.
You get what you get the whole of August.
The whole of August. So the city and the Mansion House shut down for August, mainly to, do a bit of refurbs and stuff. So August is entirely off.
And you live in Mansion House. So what is it like in Mansion House? When you go to bed, can you get to run around Mansion House when nobody's looking?
Well, you probably could, but there is some CCTV, so I probably wouldn't want to. Not in my dressing gown and cat slippers. It's a surreal place to live because it is, think National Trust property, think, yellow brocade sofas, think 4-poster bed, going back to goodness knows how many hundreds of years, with a step up because it's a very big bed. So chandeliers. So you have 2 rooms, which aren't huge, but you live in, but they are not our homes. They're not, they're very comfortable.
It's a very nice Airbnb.
Yes. Now there's an idea, Gaby. Yes. No, I don't think that. I think if I put that out there, they will be pretty upset with me. But no. So it's a great place. It's a great place to entertain, to bring people to. A lot of people have never been to the Mansion House and to give them a tour. So, but you couldn't do this job and not live there because you're out every night. So to get home from there, whatever.
So out every night.
Yes.
So when
you're still the same size at the moment.
So you're out every night. You come back to your cat slippers, as you just said, and a dressing gown. Do you have, actually, all jokes aside, do you have any time where you can just sit and watch EastEnders or something?
It's very rare.
Do you have any you time?
No, it's very rare. Some weekends, if there's not something on, we will go home, and then that's exactly, lay on a sofa and eat fish fingers and baked beans.
Good. I love that picture.
Bit of reality.
In your robes or in your cat slippers?
I have to say, I leave the robes.
Do you?
Robes are not my favourite things to wear. The frills and ruffs, I still can't quite get used to. It's not my colour. But no, so you have very little. But this is a year, and when my husband and I discussed it, so Gary and I, we said, if we're going to do it, you do it to your best of your ability. Okay, what is the point of doing anything if it's not to the best of your ability? So we'll do everything we possibly can to help the City of London, to inspire a few others. And then I'm going to lay down on the sofa with a blanket over my head.
Oh, that's so lovely. Can I please look at that you have around your neck? So
the badge.
So what is this?
So I have to admit to this one being the copy, because the one with the 4 diamonds is in the vault below Mansion House because it's not really allowed to be taken out of there. So this is the badge of office. I understand it's the 3rd iteration of them. There's 3 been designed, and this normally comes with like a gold collar. We think pre-owned by Thomas More. It's called the Collar of S's.
Wow.
But it's basically a symbol of the office that you wear for the year, but it stays behind when you step down. So sadly, I can't make it into earrings.
Oh my word. Is it very heavy? May I just
Yes, it's quite heavy.
Oh, it is heavy.
Yeah.
It's rather fabulous though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's very nice.
So we always ask everybody who comes on this podcast something that brings them joy, huge joy. I can imagine there's a lot at the moment. But obviously, family aside, we always say that. What brings you such joy?
Well, I could have picked a lot of things, but I picked something to do with this year. So this is a Girl Guides badge. So the Girl Guides are involved in the show. They help give out the lunches, the packed lunches, because there's 7,000 people take part walking in the show. And afterwards, they wrote me a letter, and they said they were really proud to be in the show with me. I'm really proud that I had been the first to take the term, the Lady Mayor. And in the Girl Guides, they always recognise achievement with a badge. So they'd made me my very own Lady Mayor's badge, the blonde Lady Mayor.
Where are you going to sew it?
I don't know. I keep picking it up, so it's getting a bit grubby. I think it's going to have to go on the arm somewhere, isn't it?
Of what?
Well, I don't know, actually.
When you finish?
I might frame it.
That's nice.
Frame.
Okay.
Yeah,
frame
it.
That's so lovely.
But that's really sweet. So yeah, everyone needs to go be a Girl Guide.
Oh, well, thank you very much. It's lovely to talk to you. Congratulations on being the first Lady Mayor.
Thank
you. I know
you.
the 3rd Mayoress, but the first Lady Mayor. Does that mean that your husband what's his title then?
Well, technically, he should be the Lady Mayoress because normally the mayor comes with a wife, but he's refused to be called that. So he is called the Mayoral Consort, and I have to say, I couldn't do it without him. He's been such an amazing support. And it's quite a hard job to do when you are with someone who, if you like, is the principal front of them, someone supporting, but couldn't do without him. It's been brilliant.
Lovely to chat to you. Thank you very much.
And you. Thank you.
Gaby Roslin.